Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Normal Valfan. Joined alongside Ryan again, and we're going to begin this podcast talking about the baseballs. Tony Vitello and his gremlins going at it. They've swept the reigning national champions, LSU, who haven't been the LSU that everyone's used to, but I mean, that's still a good feat, sweeping an SEC series. And then they came off a 20-5 midweek game against Bellarmine. We're going into this top 5 baseball series here, going to Kentucky to play Kentucky, so it's going to be interesting. But let's talk about the LSU series. Ryan, what did you take about, what was the biggest thing for this baseball team that you took from this series?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that for much of the first 2 games, the offense was not its normal self because LSU has 2 good pitchers for Friday and Saturday. Everybody knows Luke Holman, and then I forget who started for them on Friday night, but they slowed us down a lot. But the big thing for Tennessee is that the pitching finally stepped up in SEC play. We didn't rely on cranking home runs to win those games. So that was the big takeaway for me, is that our pitching stepped up big time. I mean, you talk about Drew Beam on Saturday, and the whole pitching staff. I mean, Drew Beam probably had the best starting performance, but the pitching staff as a whole played very well throughout the whole series.
Absolutely. I mean, look at AJ Causey. He didn't get the start. I mean, we're used to him starting, but he comes out of the pen and throws an absolute gem of a long relief to, keep Tennessee in this game and, get that first victory on Friday. And like you said, I mean, Drew Beam looked like Drew Beam on Saturday. He got into some spots where LSU could have, blown us out and, found a way to win, but he kept us in it. The defense has looked awesome. The defense has been stellar, other than Billy Amick's little error, but I wouldn't even call that an error. When you were watching that game, I mean, I see where he messed up. I mean, I even thought it was going to hit the bag, and you can't blame Billy on that. But and that's a shout out to this baseball defense, man. I mean, you have a freshman third baseman, right, playing shortstop, Dean Curley, playing absolute great ball, on the field, on both sides. Billy Amick couldn't field last year, according to Clemson fans. He's been playing stellar at third base. And Christian Moore, he's not a liability anymore. I mean, yeah, he's going to make some mistakes, but he's definitely improved a lot on the defensive side. We all know he could smoke the ball. And same thing with Blake Burke, man. Blake Burke is such a good fielder at first base. I think, Tennessee has shown that they can play small ball. Now, do we like when the games are close? No. I don't like it. I like when the bats are alive and, where we have that 2 to 3 run lead, and you could depend on the pitching to, it'll be okay, because the pitching has been on and off so far this season. And, it's going to be a big test going into Kentucky, man. I mean, it's going to be packed. They're going to be hungry to beat Tennessee. But both teams really haven't played, the tough teams in the SEC yet, per se. So it's going to be really interesting. But, yeah, the defense was stellar. That's my big takeaway from the LSU series.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said. I mean, the offense, Tennessee only scored, it was 17 runs on the weekend, and we scored 20 yesterday against Bellarmine. So LSU did a good job of slowing us down. I mean, you can say what you want about LSU this year. They're still very talented.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. That I think they're having a lot of bad luck, I think. But the like I'm sure people didn't forget this, but it just occurred to me again. Tennessee was no hit through 5 innings on Saturday night.
Yeah. Luke
Like
Holman's a stud, dude. That kid's a
he,
stud.
he's awesome. I mean, and there's a reason that Tony and Frank were wanting him in Knoxville. I mean, he would easily have a weekend starter spot.
Oh, at this point, he would have been our Friday guy. He would have to be.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a nice gritty sweep of a decent team, and I mean, LSU was ranked coming into it. I mean, they're not now, but I mean, it's still a solid win, and we finally swept the team at home that we should sweep at home. I thought Tennessee should have swept Ole Miss at home. I thought they should have swept Georgia at home, but we finally came through with a sweep, which is big for if we're wanting to win the SEC East or maybe even the SEC as a whole. So,
well, this series though, I think this weekend is like, I know we got a while to go. We got a couple series left, but I think this is the weekend you gotta win. You gotta take 2 games. You gotta take 2 games because I know Kentucky has a tendency to slow down towards the end of the year. They look really good, man. I'm not gonna bash Kentucky. They look really good. They're in first place right now in the East, and as long as they could take at least 1 from us, they're sitting in a good spot. Because I mean, we have a couple tough series ahead of us as well, so it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a very, very stressful weekend for both fan bases. So, but yeah.
I mean, you're completely right. I mean, I think if this series goes where somebody just wins it 2-1, it's not going to make a huge difference. It's only 1 game in favor of whoever as far as the standings go. But if one of these teams sweeps the other, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're destined to win the SEC East at the minimum. I mean, and you talk about Kentucky. I mean, you can say whatever you want about who they've played, and they haven't played the great teams yet. But you don't get to be 14-1 in easily the toughest conference in college baseball if you're not
by far.
If you're not a good team. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, I think so. I've been looking at the matchup. I mean, Kentucky. I mean, their thing is easily small ball. They love playing small ball in close games. Now they definitely have the ability to put up big numbers just like Tennessee, but if we're in close games, you can definitely expect Kentucky to bunt, steal, squeeze plays. I mean, it's going to happen, and Tennessee has got to be on the lookout for it. And you mentioned our defense over the weekend was pretty good, so they have got to carry that into Lexington to have a chance, because a defensive error against a team that plays small ball, it's almost a guaranteed run.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously the bats need to be there. We can't go 5-6 innings of getting no hit, obviously. Mm-hmm. But we've seen it this weekend. Tennessee could definitely be that team, as long as the pitching is there. Because and I say by pitching, if AJ Causey, Drew Beam, Sechrist, and Snead and Combs are all on their A game, it's gonna be really hard to beat Tennessee. But like I said, nothing against Kentucky. I think Kentucky could definitely, run the table. They've been playing excellent baseball, and I'm not going to be surprised if I don't think we get swept this weekend. I'm not saying that they're going to sweep us, but I would not be surprised if they won the series. I'm not going to be that guy that's going to say, "Oh, they ain't going to beat us," because realistically, yeah, they could win the series. Both these teams are baseball teams, and it's going to come down to who's on and who's not. So,
yeah, I mean, and if you go back to 2 years ago, the only series we lost in SEC play was to damn Kentucky in Lexington, which was dumbfounding at the time. And I think it had a lot to do with the weather in that series. It was super cold. I think Tennessee was just not expecting Kentucky to put up that much of a fight, and they took the series from us with the best team in school history. If you look at the numbers, So
Yeah, the team was dirty.
uh, it's Tennessee is clearly not going to overlook Kentucky this time because it's a top 5 matchup. It's easily the most intriguing series of the weekend and probably across the country. So it's going to be a fun one. And I mean, it's crazy to sit here and talk about a top 5 matchup between Tennessee and Kentucky in baseball. I mean, I
Well,
never
in
thought.
anything, I mean, all we're only used to that in basketball. So
Yeah, and even then, it's normally just top 10. It's not both teams in the top 5. I mean, this is a big time series, and I mean, just looking at Kentucky's schedule, they are about to start playing the better teams. I mean, they have to go to South Carolina, they get Arkansas at home, to Florida, and Vanderbilt at home. So after us, they have 4 pretty tough series, and if they don't win this series against us, you're. I mean, I don't see them winning the SEC, but if they do, that's definitely a possibility.
yeah, because I mean, look at us. We got after this, we got Missouri at home, Florida in Florida, and then we got Vanderbilt, which is pretty much a home game, kind of. And then South Carolina at home. So Tennessee definitely has the easier schedule going into the end of the regular season. So it's going to be interesting. It's very interesting. I think Tennessee, if they could just win the series, I think I think Tennessee would be sitting pretty for the East at least.
Absolutely. I mean, it's again, I can't say enough how crazy it is that Kentucky has been this good. I mean, they're probably the biggest surprise in college baseball. I can't think of another team who had you know average expectations and is now the top 5 team. I mean,
I mean, we could talk about Florida being below average expectations.
yeah, you can talk about Florida, LSU being below average, yeah. But uh, I'm so looking forward to this because this is, I think it's the most impactful series of the whole season. Just looking at the rest of our schedule.
Absolutely, it's going to be one for you know the ages right here. I think it's going to be either. I feel like there's going to be two really like I wouldn't say tight games. I'm talking like maybe 5-3, 6-3, whatever you want to say. But I think there's going to be a game where both teams are just knocking the snot out of the ball.
Yeah, I will say now. I think I said it on last week's episode. Tennessee's going to beat a lot of teams on Sunday. I think Tennessee wins on Sunday. You
I can
just got
agree
to
with that.
you just got to pull out Friday or Saturday or maybe even both. Why not both?
Well, yeah, I don't know who they're. I mean, I feel like every team has like that spot where they don't know who's going to pitch Sunday. But we're at that point where Xander's been pitching really well on Sunday, to where that's probably our Sunday guy for right now. Until because I think he got his. I would not be surprised if that we see a Causey start on Friday, because I feel like that relief got him his confidence back. So I would not be surprised, but we'll see when Friday comes about.
I don't know, man. I think coming out of the bullpen for Kazi, it might be what produced that good performance. I mean, Stamos basically you can call it an opener instead of a starter. I mean, I think I don't know. I really doubt Tony goes back to how it was because it worked for us in last Friday's game. So I wouldn't. I don't know if I would go back to Kazi starting. I would expect to see Stamos throw that first pitch on Friday night.
I would not be mad about it. Now, let's see. So we got this Kentucky series obviously as the main point for this weekend. Um, you know, I think Tony has a good chance to make this team into a postseason team. I think if we could get AJ Russell healthy in time for the postseason, I think Tennessee can definitely be a tough team to play with, in the postseason. Did you see the updated like D1 regional projected?
Yeah, I didn't look much at the regional. I was looking at our potential super regional matchup with
Yeah.
with Wake Forest and Burns down there. So I think that would be super fun. But call me crazy. I really don't. I don't hate Chase Burns.
It's not that I hate him. I just wish, because you can't blame the kid. The kid is just doing what the kid wants to do. I mean, he's 18 to 21 years old. And I don't blame him. He wants to start. Go start somewhere. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have started for Tennessee. I mean, with the way this season went, he would have been a starter. I mean,
probably, yeah.
But he didn't know that, and he's doing whatever he thinks is best for him. And no, I'm not a big hater. I think it would just be fun because of the way 80% of the fan base doesn't like him, and I think Wake Forest is really overrated this year. And but Chase Burns is a phenomenal pitcher. I'm not taking anything away from him. Obviously, I would not want to face him, but
yeah, if we face him, that might be bad news bears. I mean, because he would obviously have a lot of motivation, but I don't. Hate
especially if it's in Knoxville.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't hate him because Tennessee doesn't even sniff the College World Series last year without him. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And Zane Denton, but.
Yeah. Anything else for baseball, Jim?
No, I'm actually really excited to talk about this next one because after seeing all these big accounts talk about Elijah Herring leaving and how Tennessee football is in trouble in the linebacker room, I can't wait to talk about it because I am on the complete opposite side. And I am not mad at Elijah Herring for leaving. I think he just wants to go play. I don't think it's for the money. I think it's just he wants to play. And Tennessee's linebacker room is stout this year. So,
yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about it? What do you think about him deciding to hit the portal?
I mean, you obviously don't know exactly what happened, but it really seems like he saw the writing on the wall with Peely coming back, with Thielander continuing to get better. And then I think the biggest factor is, Spillman's going to be probably have his hand in the dirt a lot, coming off the edge as a linebacker. But from everything I've read on spring practice, Spillman was one of the most impressive freshmen.
Yep.
And maybe he just thought he wouldn't get the playing time he got last year, which is crazy because he was our leading tackler. I mean,
but he had his flaws.
Yeah, he does. I mean,
everyone does, but I just felt he wasn't. I don't want to say he's not SEC quality because he is. I'm saying he just had his faults that I think really hurt us in some games.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough to really get down on him for his struggles last year at times because he was a true freshman having to be thrown into the fire. So
well, he played to me. He played excellent for having to step in to a spot where he didn't think he was going to be a starter. He was going to be behind Keenan Peely and play every so often. And he got hurt, and he was the boom. Hey, bro, you're starting. And yeah. He did well for a freshman. He really did. He definitely filled the gap for Tennessee when they really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Long story short, I'm not that upset about it because I really don't see a scenario where he got in a fight with the coaches or the coaches are down on him because he was our leading tackler last year. I really think it's because our linebacker room is stacked, and I see that as a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was were you at the Virginia game last year?
Yes.
Yeah, I was sitting 50-yard line watching Keenan Peely play before he got hurt, obviously. And let me tell you, man, Keenan Peely is the real deal. That guy is going to be, if he could stay healthy, between him, Aaron Carter, T. Lander, Edwin Spillman, the Burns kid that he's a freshman as well. This linebacker core is going to be fine without Herring. I wish him the best, but obviously I think this room will be fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee hit the portal to get a I wouldn't say they're going to get a stud linebacker, but I think, they might dabble.
A little dabble action, yeah.
Yeah, you got to just, keep the depth.
Yeah. I think if you want to, linebacker is, besides wide receiver, I think is probably the deepest position on Tennessee's roster. So,
other than defensive line.
Yeah.
Defensive line's definitely our most stacked.
Yeah, those three position groups, I'm not going to worry about somebody transferring out because they don't see the playing time that they desire. Now, one area I do think we need to hit the portal, and Tennessee is already looking, is running back. Because you have Sampson is obviously
your
doubt
number one, yeah.
Yeah, but Cam Seldon's coming off an injury. And then you have two unexperienced players behind that.
Well, Peyton Lewis coming off an injury as well. So it's, you got Peyton Lewis coming off an injury. You got Seldon coming off an injury. Khalifa Keith, obviously, I think he's going to be a great blocker because that was the one thing. I don't think spring games really don't, I don't look, into specifics for the spring game because obviously you can't hit the quarterback. You can't do this. You can't do that. But, it looked like Tennessee was having a rough time running the ball. I think, obviously, we had, a couple of freshmen playing offensive line because, you had John Campbell out, Spraggins, Mays. All the, main guys were, not playing. So, I think the only thing, I think the cornerbacks, the DBs, hey, they look super athletic. Boo Carter is going to be the dude. That guy is just absurdly athletic. I think he's going to see a lot of playing time this year. And, but yeah, between all the transfers, dude, our tight end group, our tight end group's going to be nasty this year.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think if Tennessee could find a perfect fit for a running back to come in and play behind Sampson, and Seldon would have been a great fit. Just coming off that injury, I'm saying if they could just find that running back, and I know everyone wanted Martinez from Oregon State. The kid wanted $1 million to play, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. And
he canceled his visit today. So
exactly, yeah. There was no way that was going to happen. Austin Price said it before he even announced he was going to come visit Tennessee, that it was not going to happen. The kid turned down a $400,000 NIL deal. The kid, it's at that point, and I don't blame him. The kid had a phenomenal year. So I kudos to him who's searching for the money. I think he'll end up going to Miami because they have the money to give him.
Yeah.
And but
I really hope he doesn't go to Kentucky or Mississippi State because I do think he's a good player.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think he'll go to Kentucky, though, because I just don't see Kentucky throwing $1 million at a running back.
That's just bad business if you're Tennessee because, like we have said already, Dylan Sampson is no doubt your number one. So you're not going to pay that much for a running back who will probably split carries with Cam Seldon if he's fully healthy. Now, we still need to go out and find somebody because the most injured position in football is running back. We are one injury away from having 3 players with less than 2 years of experience being our running backs if Sampson goes down. So it's
I think you're absolutely right. It is, and I know the coaches know. It's number one priority right now is get a running back. I think they're still searching for maybe they might dabble into the DB market still. But other than that, defensive wise, man, I tweeted it during the spring game, and like I said, take the spring game with a grain of salt. But our defensive line is going to be absolutely nasty. Our linebackers are good. Our DBs are super athletic. I think, I think the transfers are definitely going to be a huge deal this year. And I think Tennessee, man, Tennessee's got the schedule to go places this year. I think if Tennessee could win that week 3 matchup against Oklahoma, you watch out because all the most of the tough games except for Oklahoma and Georgia obviously are at home. So Tennessee could definitely, do something here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Speaking of transfers, Tennessee was able to land one Darling Stone Dubar from the Hofstra Pride. What were your initial thoughts on that, Jim?
I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say he's the next Dalton Connect because he's obviously not. Dalton's one of one. But the kid could score. He's lengthy. He averaged 7 rebounds a game for Hofstra. The dude shot, what was it? I think it was like 30 almost 40% from 3, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
I think he's going to be a great asset. Obviously, I think Tennessee basketball definitely needs a couple more transfers to come in. But Dubar is going to be a bright spot for Tennessee. I think he's going to be one of those that could go out and score, and I think Zakai Ziegler is going to love him. So it's good to have him. I think this was definitely one of the guys I definitely wanted. Now Cade Tyson was visiting with him this weekend, but he's from North Carolina. Yep. And he's probably going to be going. He'll probably be a Tar Heel next season because that's his dream school. Which shocking enough. But what's the guy's name from Charlotte? Igor. I can't say his last name, but
it's let's see.
Milicic, is that it?
Yep. Igor Milicic. Yep.
Yeah, I mean this kid's a stud too. I mean he's another one shooting almost 40% from 3. He's listed at 6'10", 225, average 9 rebounds. I think if Awaka comes back, which is, we'll talk about it here in a little bit, I think this would be another great pickup for Tennessee because with Zakai and Gainey and Meshack, it's definitely a good pickup for Tennessee. Again, I think Tennessee needs... there's not a lot of them in the portal right now, but Tennessee needs a big man. I mean, Awaka is Awaka. We know he handles business. We know he's strong, but he's lacking a little bit in the height department. And I think if Tennessee could go get a big man in the portal, that'd be huge.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing to me about Dubar is that the thing that jumps out at me whenever I just look at his line from last year is that he shoots 54%. I mean, highly efficient offensive player. He can play the 3 or the 4 at 6'8". So it's hard to not see him in a Dalton Connect type role. It's like you said, Dalton is one of one. I don't think Tennessee will see a player like Dalton for,
a long
10,
time.
Yeah, 10, 20 years. But I mean, if you're gonna, have the hyper efficient 6'8" guard full forward combo and play like that, Darling Stone is a pretty good option. Now you mentioned we do need a big man. I think Igor Milicic would be a great fit, and you might see if he ends up coming to Tennessee kind of play differently as far as the post goes because. You look at that Elite Eight game, Tennessee had 2 points out of the post, which is unacceptable. But Igor can stretch the floor a little bit if you watch his highlight tape. So if he comes, you might see some threes being jacked up from one Igor Milicic.
Now, I was going to ask you, what do you think the possibility of Aidoo coming back? I haven't heard anything. I'm not trying to start a rumor or whatever. I'm just asking because I don't know how far, because obviously he hasn't committed anywhere yet, And it's the same thing for, Awaka. I mean, he's not getting the love that he probably thought he was going to get out of the portal. And nothing against Awaka. I love Awaka. I wish he never even entered the portal. And I don't think he would have if he knew Aidoo was entering as well. But I'm kind of still in hopes that Aidoo might change his mind.
Yeah, and I'd say the same thing about Awaka too. I mean, you obviously never want to see players leave, but when you had a front court that didn't succeed, your starters didn't do well enough to win the Elite Eight game against Purdue, and then they both leave. You're not in a great spot. So if one of them were to change their mind to come back, that would be awesome. But the last I heard on Aidoo, and I don't know if it's true or not, was that he was looking at Arkansas, which I think would not be a good move for him because I don't think he'd play.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm not saying no hate against Aidoo because Aidoo has the tangibles. He has the ability to score. The thing about him was inconsistency. That was it. There was games where he would look like a top 5 big man in the country, and there's games like in the tournament he just didn't play well. And I think a lot of teams probably take that with a grain of salt, but a team like Arkansas where they're having national attention with Calipari coming, I just don't see Aidoo being a good fit. I agree with you on that. I think especially with Big Z going there, I think he's not going to be the last one. And I think Aidoo is. I think if it was me talking to Aidoo, not take the Tennessee fan out of it. If I was his camp, I'd be telling him, "Hey, if you're not going to go in the NBA, stay with Rick Barnes. Stay learning the defensive side of things, and just get consistency. I mean, if he could stay consistent and play the way we know he could play." That guy, how is he not a first-round draft pick?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it whenever people were down on Aidoo in the last couple of weeks post tournament loss that you're talking about second team All SEC player, first team All defense player. He definitely has the ability, but it's just the consistency. You're absolutely right. So, another spot that I think Tennessee should take a strong look at in the portal for basketball is a point guard to give Ziegler the ability to not have to play 35 plus minutes a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that would be huge. I don't think you're going to go out and get DJ Wagner or anything, but just somebody who can hold the ship down, a decent ball handler who can run the offense for even 8 to 10 minutes a game would be huge. Because I think in the final game for Tennessee, Ziegler was just tired. That's why he didn't shoot well.
Yeah, I agree. To ask a kid, especially coming off an ACL injury, and just ask him to play, 38 to 40 minutes a game is just not worth it. Not worth his risk of getting injured. I think if you could get a Zakai Ziegler that plays 32 minutes to 33 minutes a game, I think the kid's stats are going to be incredible.
Yeah. I mean, Ziegler has shown, the coaching staff put enough trust into him where they didn't care to take him out because he would let them know if he needed to be taken out. But what player is going to say, take me out? I mean, that just doesn't happen. So
no, they're all competitive, and it's just. I just think we'll see. I agree with you. I think you don't have to get a stud. Just get a guy, and I expect Gainey to make a jump. I'm not going to say he's going to be this crazy good. We know he could score. We know Gainey could score if he's called upon to go score. We know he could do it. It's just we seen it pick up a little bit. I think he played really good defense towards the end of the season. If he could stick to that and get to where he could defend like Zakai or even close to it, I think Tennessee would be fine with Gainey too. And Meshack is Meshack. I think same thing with Meshack. I think he could definitely be, another one that could make a huge step forward because we didn't have to ask Meshack to score. I think what killed Tennessee last year was they just depended that DK was going to score 30 a night, and no one really had to go after it and go to the basket and score. So it's going to be interesting. I think this season is going to be interesting. I'm not going to say we're going to be the Tennessee we were this year because, like you said, Dalton Connect, 1 of 1. You're not going to see him for a while. I think Dalton Connect's going to be an excellent NBA player as well. So it's going to be – it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Anything else on basketball transfers?
I don't think so. So far, nothing crazy about, Tennessee other than Dubar. So, but hopefully by next podcast, I hope to, I hope we might have another one on board. So we'll see.
I'm going to go ahead and say right now, Milicic will be a Tennessee Volunteer by the time we record our next episode because it's down to Tennessee, Nebraska, and Baylor. And he probably, I'm not going to claim to know Nebraska and Baylor's front court situations, but he would be on the floor immediately at Tennessee as it stands right now. So that's just my thoughts. I think we do get them, but I want to end the episode like this, Jim. Did you see the attendance for combined football, basketball, and women's basketball?
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
So my favorite thing about this is that at the summer of last year, Tennessee had this whole campaign about Knoxville is America's college sports city. And then the fans backed it up by having the most attendance of the 3 biggest attended sports. So they made the claim and then the fan base backed it up. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been proven. I mean, with the Nico action this year, the way we think that the Tennessee football team could do, I mean, every home game is going to be sold out. Every single home game is going to be sold out. The season tickets will be same as last year where they were sold out. Depending on how basketball does this year, I think basketball is going to be the same way. They sold out their season tickets as well. And with Lindsey Nelson becoming the way Lindsey Nelson's going to be over the next couple of years, same thing, baseball. Baseball is going to be big too. So it's going to be interesting. I think if you're a Tennessee Volunteer fan, there's nothing to be down about right now. Every sport is doing what you would hope it would do. I mean, baseball top 5, basketball was top 5 this year. Football could be a top 5 team this year. We don't know, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the only people happier about this than Tennessee fans and the University of Tennessee as a whole is Knoxville hotel and restaurant owners.
Yeah.
You got 1 million people coming through coming through Knoxville in the last 7 months just to watch Tennessee sports. I mean, it's the lifeblood of the city. It always has been. It always will be, and it makes me proud to be a graduate. And I'm sure it makes even fans who didn't graduate from Tennessee proud to be a Tennessee fan. But without looking at the top 10, do you know who came in second?
I didn't even see the list. So if I had to guess, are they an SEC team?
Yes. The top 3 are SEC teams.
Okay. It might shock you with my answer, and I think it's probably wrong, but I'm going to go with South Carolina.
It's not a bad answer because they are number 3.
Ooh. Okay, wait, don't tell me. Don't tell me. All right. It's definitely not Georgia.
Nope.
Are they in the East?
Nope.
Okay, so they're in the West. Okay. It's not A&M.
Nope.
Oh man. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me. I'm not gonna be able to get a good guess.
The LSU Tigers came in number 2.
Oh, I should have guessed that. That makes sense though with their baseball program and their ladies teams doing well.
Yeah, these numbers only included football and both basketballs, but their women's basketball team was awesome. Their men's basketball was not, but so it was kind of surprising to see LSU there. I wasn't surprised at South Carolina because they're always going to fill out that stadium for football. I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
say what you want about their program. They have pretty good fans and they fill out that stadium no matter how bad or good they are. But both of their basketball programs were awesome this year. What surprised me is that you just guessed them was A&M came in 10th. I mean, they had a decent basketball team. I mean, their women's is but they have the biggest stadium in the SEC and they still came in 10th.
Well, yeah, and football wasn't great the past couple of years under Jimbo, so I expect them to go up this next year. But we'll see. I honestly I don't expect a lot from A&M this year either. But and that's not a throw at them. It's just I just don't first year coach. I just don't expect anything huge. Same thing with I'm not buying the hype with DeBoer. I'm not buying it. I don't know why everyone's saying he's the next Nick Saban because he's not. Not saying he's going to be a terrible coach. I just think because obviously he's not doing what he did at Washington, but he's playing in the SEC now. This ain't no Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like what we said with Connect. Nick Saban is one of one, so obviously he's not going to be. They're not going to just not miss a beat. But
everyone saying how Alabama should go undefeated this year, I just don't see it. Especially like they're playing a team like us at home. And don't get me wrong, they got Jalen Milroe. They got a lot of talent. It's just it's different. It's a different atmosphere. Coming into Neyland and not going into the smaller Pac-12 stadiums.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you got tonight, Jim?
No, I think it's gonna be a fun weekend with the baseball team, and a lot of stuff to look forward to for football and basketball coming up next year. So we'll see how this baseball team ends the season, and like I said, we'll keep everyone updated every week after and before the new series comes up.
Absolutely, man. Go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.